So earlier in the pandemic, the reason for difficulties with capacity was reagents, and that was repeated a number of times. I just wanted to understand what the actual issue with capacity is at the moment. Is it the workers to conduct the lab tests in the lab space, or lack of PCR machines, or other such analysis?
Well, I'm not sure there's much more I can sensibly add to the information the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State have shared with the House this week. Dido Harding is giving evidence to the Science and Technology Committee later today. But what I think it is just worth highlighting is that, as the Prime Minister set out yesterday, we have a plan, a trajectory to deliver 500,000 tests a day by the end of October. We are essentially on track against increasing our testing capacity to meet that ambition. We are testing around, or capable of testing around, 100 times more people a day than at the start of the pandemic. So, whilst of course in a sort of population scale enterprise like this, there will always be day-to-day operational challenges, and those are addressed, identified and sorted out. The particular challenge we face at the moment is the mismatch between demand and capacity, rather than that capacity is falling short of where we expected it to be.
Okay, Ms. Blake.
Well, thank you for that answer. I don't think we really touched on what the actual issue is there. So I'm going to ask all the questions because I had questions about whether it was one or the other. So these tests aren't rocket science. Do you not think that the money for Moonshot would be better spent on the current testing technologies and capacity?
Mr. Williams.
Well, there are different use cases, and even within the current capacity, there are tests for which rapid turnaround is particularly important, and other tests for which accuracy is a more important factor. So we have a blend of testing routes now matched to the use cases. I think the point about investment in future technologies is that it might either allow us to deliver current testing activity more cheaply, more reliably, at greater scale, or with a quicker turnaround. Innovating in this space, I think, is a perfectly sensible thing to do.
Okay.
There's then a choice about how those new tests are deployed.
But that doesn't tackle the issue of the here and now and the second peak. So if the issue is lab space, can I ask you how many universities, research sites, private labs have been approached for their space?
I would have to ask Dido and the testing team to write to the committee with that information, I'm afraid.
Okay, and if the issue is recruitment of staff and how many staff we have, how are we going to recruit for the 4 new labs, and what is the size of those labs?
Well, as I say, there's a plan to increase capacity, which we are delivering. As part perhaps of follow-up information, we can set out how we get from the current level of testing capacity, around 250,000 a day, to 500,000 by the end of October. And what that means in terms of lab capacity, consumables, and staffing. But we are essentially on track with our capacity plan. The challenge is that demand has grown substantially faster than the capacity that we had planned to deliver.
Okay, so if the issue is recruitment, have you considered a similar call out to ex-scientists as was done with the NHS for nursing and medical staff?
Well, I'm seriously trying to avoid agreeing that that's particularly the challenge here. Let me ask the testing team to set out where they are on capacity, what comes next, and which are the particular potential pinch points that they are actively managing as we expand for the autumn.
I think that would be very useful for the committee, because I think it would be difficult to know how we know this money is good value for money if we don't know the actual issue. And then the final question is about key workers. Lots of key workers don't drive. In my own city, the 2 walk-in centres have now closed. I'm concerned about key workers not being able to access tests. Have you done any assessment of the impact of these closures?
The testing team look quite actively at the sort of delivery channels and which of those are best suited to which use case, whether it's key workers, NHS and social care staff, care homes, elective patients, and so on. So this is an area that they keep under active review. As you'll see, we redeploy testing capacity to particular areas of concern as part of our local intervention strategy. So it's quite a dynamic position, and a range of factors are taken into account on how best to deploy testing capacity, of which access and the ability of people to access particular channels is absolutely part of that.
The committee has also been concerned about care homes and testing in the past. How is this current issue impacting on the access of care homes to testing?
Let me just say on that, as I think the Secretary of State said to the House earlier in the week, we'll be shortly setting out the basis on which we are making prioritisation decisions for testing within the capacity that we have available. As that is set out, I think we'll see that protecting a meaningful level of testing capacity precisely for care homes, for staff and people in care homes is a high priority and factored into that prioritisation process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams.